Hi, I'm JJ the Practical Alchemist. Thank you for joining me for this one. Why Practical Alchemist? Well, I'm all about the practical ways that we can effect real transformation in our lives, living in line with nature in a way that's true to our nature. But what's real? How do we distinguish reality from fakery, fake news even? Whose life are we living anyway? Well, hopefully I can bring you some clarity, a little bit of clarity today. But before I get into that, if you like this content and you want to see more of it, please, I would be so grateful if you could like this video and leave a comment to tell me what you like and don't like about it, and then hopefully subscribe so that you'll get notifications of future content coming through. That will really help me get this show on the road, as they used to say once upon a time. Okay, let's get started. A long, long time ago, when I was younger, so much younger than today, life seemed so much simpler on the face of it. Teachers taught you facts. Doctors knew your body better than you did. The law protected you, and politicians could be trusted, couldn't they, to run the country. We all knew our place, and they absolutely had our interests at heart. Anyone else old enough to remember that? None of it was entirely true, of course. In those days, it was just harder to see through the narrative that we were all being fed. We were invested in the story because that's all we were told. It's all we knew. It's a bit of a cliche now, but have any of you actually read George Orwell's 1984? It was a cautionary tale that warned us of the dangers of doublethink. Now, that was something I'll explain in a moment in a very controlling dystopian system. Doublethink is a process of indoctrination which leads people to simultaneously accept two conflicting beliefs as truth, often at odds with their own memory or sense of reality. And it's the opposite of cognitive dissonance, where holding those two conflicting beliefs becomes uncomfortable, intolerable even. Now, in the novel 1984, the result was the Ministry of Peace, which concerned itself with war, the Ministry of Truth, which, was all about lies, and the Ministry of Love, which was all about torture, and so on. Then there was Newspeak. That was a deliberate bastardization of language designed to narrow people's range of thought by eliminating traditional words and replacing them with party-approved concept words, so that ultimately there would be no way to express any opposition to what was going on and to the party's ideology. Does that remind you of anything going on right now? So language is an important factor here, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Winston Smith, now he's the main protagonist in the book, if you haven't read it, he says, power is in tearing human minds to pieces and then putting them back together again in new shapes of your own choosing. That's kind of the definition of propaganda at its best, or should I say worst. It's all in the story and how powerfully it's told, or how often it's repeated. And what was in the corner of everyone's living quarters in Orwell's 1984? A television screen, pumping out a stream of propaganda while Big Brother kept its eye on you, kept you under surveillance. Are you beginning to get the picture? We're not there quite in our society yet. Orwell was warning us about what can happen if citizens allow their governments to hold too much power. Totalitarianism and surveillance were anathema to him. Now, more recently, we've seen a shift in popular culture, suggesting life is an illusion. Now, we've had films like the Matrix trilogy, we've had The Truman Show, and more recently, there's been a sort of an updated version of The Truman Show, which was Free Guy. I don't know if you've seen that one. Now, you can take all of these at face value, of course. They're great entertainment, but the message is clear. Nothing is what you think it is. We're all being lied to all of the time, or so it seems. So what is the truth? Can we ever get to the truth? And how do we shift away from Orwellian dystopia? Here's my take. If power lies in manipulating our beliefs and our behaviors, I choose to take my power back. First of all, I have chosen to switch off my TV. I don't even have one, and ration social media. I reckon TV rots the brain, not to mention the frequency, which frankly makes me feel ill if I'm sitting in front of a television for any length of time. I haven't owned a TV for years, and I really don't want one in the house. I'm the same with microwave ovens, mind you, but that's a whole different thing. Well, kind of similar, but different. Now, there was a time when I worked in TV, in news and current affairs, and it was a toxic business then. And yeah, you did find certain agendas playing out, partly as a result of reporters and the news organizations taking the easy way out and not doing very much in the way of independent investigation, investigative reporting. News organizations were on ever-tightening budgets, and from what I saw, that had a profound impact on quality over the years. And that's, anyway, my opinion. But a friend of mine always used to ask me, what makes a story or an event a news story? Now, there are all the usual criteria for news, what makes news, including notable events in the world stage, the new, the unusual, death, disaster, scandal, extremes. But ultimately, we just developed a nose for what the news desk would go for, like the good news hounds that we aspired to be. Now, I was trained to report the facts and keep opinion to myself, be as dispassionate as possible, just an observer. But now news media appear to swallow any old information fed to them, A, and B, feel free to editorialize at will without any real investigation into what might be behind the so-called facts. These days, quality news has evaporated, and I question everything presented to me. On the rare occasions I catch a bulletin now, I find myself shaking my head in despair. Is online media any better? I hear you ask. Well, yes and no. At least you can find a variety of sources of information and opinion on digital media. Well, for now anyway, and social media. But this is not the time to be a couch potato. We have to actively seek out now what's right and true, and we have to do it for ourselves. And that starts with me and you, the individual. Question everything. Do your own research. There's plenty of information out there if you know where to look, with an open mind. And yes, the truth really is out there, but it's also held within each and every one of us. I've learned to listen to my own guidance and act from my heart. You can too. You just have to learn to trust. How can you tell you're taking the right action? Well, you start paying attention to your body and to your system generally. Learn to sit in silence and allow answers to come to you. You can learn to feel what sits right with you and what doesn't. That goes for whatever you're told is fact in the news programs and elsewhere. And then you can act on that rather from any outside influence. Be ready to let go of some thoughts and beliefs and learn to live with uncertainty. I live in the zip code of I don't know. Get comfortable with re-examining your beliefs. A belief is just a strongly held thought after all. And it can change. All you have to do is present a more compelling story to latch onto. The same goes for behaviors. We know that language and behavior is connected. And you can, let's say, encourage certain behaviors by using certain language. Advertisers, marketers, politicians, they all do this all the time. They're all savvy to this, which is another reason to ration our media consumption. Plus, our thoughts aren't always generated by us anyway. I find myself constantly asking myself, where did that come from then? Who put that there? Actually, nobody really knows where thoughts come from. Now, I have a theory, but that's going to be for another video sometime. What I do know is we're constantly bombarded with messages that are carefully crafted to lead us to think and behave in a particular way to suit an agenda that isn't necessarily ours and doesn't necessarily work for us. We only have to look to recent history to see a masterclass in psychological mass manipulation, which has had far-reaching consequences and not always positive from what I can see, as we were promised. I, for one, choose to reclaim my sovereignty, my life, whether I'm living in a planet-sized version of a computer game, a simulation like the Matrix, doesn't really matter. For me, it starts with weaning ourselves off the TV and other mass media that are kind of brainwashing us, switching off from our diet of fake news and drama, and switching on to what really nourishes us, and that is nature, community, and love. When you do that, you start to live your life, a life created by you, not someone or something other, a life tailored to your unique gifts. Are you with me? Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to see more of the same, please let me know. Also interviews. I've been uploading some interviews. Let me know if you like those too. I'm uploading lots of interviews with lots of different people I've spoken with over the past few years for my radio show, as well as just for this YouTube channel. So let me know what you like in the comments. And of course, if you subscribe, you won't miss a thing. You'll be notified whenever I post something new. So once again, thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. And I hope to see you next time. But meanwhile, remember, question everything, even me.